Time is approximately 11:20 a.m. and you're back on the record.
All right. I believe we left off, Mr. O'Boyle, where you were indicating that my assertions that the O'Boyle law firm and your son are engaged in the unlawful practice of law in the state of Florida was a crime, and I want to follow up on that statement that you made. Are you aware? We'll strike that. You were aware that there was no O'Boyle law firm in the state of Florida in July of 2013, right?
No, I wasn't.
Right? There was not one, right?
No, I said I was not aware.
Well, was there an O'Boyle law firm in Florida?
I was not aware.
Okay, when was the O'Boyle law firm formed in Florida?
Not aware.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. Well, are you aware whether or not the O'Boyle law firm occupies any space at 1280 West Newport Center Drive? The building you described in the beginning of your deposition?
They do not.
Okay. Are they don't occupy, they're not in that building?
No.
Where are they located?
1286 West Newport Center Drive.
Is that the same building that your offices are in?
Depends what the same building is, but I would say yes.
Okay, and who is the record owner of that building?
It's a limited partnership.
What's the name of it?
Don't know.
You don't know what the limited partnership owner of the building is?
I do not.
How long has that partnership owned the building?
20-some years.
Okay. And the O'Boyle law firm became a tenant in that building at some point?
Yes.
Okay, when did they become a tenant?
I don't recall.
Okay, was it when it was formed in February of 2014?
I don't think so.
Does the O'Boyle law firm have a lease with the owner of the premises?
Excuse me, Bob, I think this is totally irrelevant to the merits of the case or to your motion for sanctions, and it delves into the O'Boyle law firm's private matters.
I don't
Irrelevant
think so.
matters.
I don't think so at all. I think it's clearly going to go to my defense of whether or not it's a bona fide firm and whether or not we owe any fees to this alleged firm, which will be one of the defenses I'm going to be asserting in all of his cases.
Well, thus far, those are unpled defenses. So
Well, I am entitled to take discovery to anything that's calculated to lead to the discovery of admissible evidence, and I'm planning on amending my pleadings, so...
Actually, you're incorrect about that. Discovery has to be relevant.
Okay. I think that's not the standard for questions and depositions, but let's go forward. Mr. O'Boyle, does the O'Boyle law firm... You're represented by the O'Boyle law firm in this case, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know which case we're here on?
O'Boyle versus Gulfstream.
Okay, and do you know what the facts of that case are?
Yes, it's in connection with March 3rd and 4th, or March 4th and 5th of, I think, 2014, where the town of Gulfstream stole my signs.
Okay, so this is a case you believe it has to do with signs.
I think so. Now,
So do
again,
I.
you're asking me to have it memorized, and I don't. I'm giving you the best answer I can.
Well, it's a public records request case, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what records were requested in the case that you're being deposed on here today?
I'd have to see the complaint.
You didn't look at the complaint before your deposition?
No, I didn't memorize it.
Did you look at it at all?
Yes.
Do you remember anything that was in your complaint that you sued the town over?
Yeah, I think March 3rd and March 4th, and March 4th and March 5th, and signs.
Signs, okay. All right. And in your complaint, you seek fees for a law firm by the name of the O'Boyle law firm, correct?
I'm not sure if that's true or not, but
All right. Well, You are represented by the O'Boyle Law Firm in this case, correct?
I am.
And there is a prayer for attorney's fees, is there not?
I believe there is.
Okay. And do you have any agreement employing the O'Boyle Law Firm?
I believe I do.
Okay. Is it a written agreement?
I don't know.
You don't know if you have a written agreement? What are the terms of your agreement that you believe you have with the O'Boyle Law Firm?
I don't know.
And who was your agreement with at the O'Boyle Law Firm? Which lawyer?
I'm sorry, Bob, are you talking about with respect to this case?
Yes, with respect to just this case for
Okay,
right now.
I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah. With regard to this case, who was your agreement with regarding the O'Boyle Law Firm representing you?
Thank you.
I don't know.
And have you ever seen any written agreement with the O'Boyle Law Firm regarding you being represented individually?
I don't know.
Is the O'Boyle Law Firm, does the O'Boyle Law Firm have any written agreements with you or any of your entities, such as leases or otherwise, any other financial transactions between you and the O'Boyle Law Firm, other than them being your lawyer?
Objection form.
Are you talking about in this case or in every case in the world?
In any, not with regard to cases, I want to know what your financial arrangements and dealings with the O'Boyle Law Firm are.
Well, excuse me, that's really going... That's irrelevant. That's really going far afield. Well, hold it.
Let me break it
Hold
down for you. I'll break it down for you. Have you received any bills from the O'Boyle Law Firm
In this case.
regarding this case?
I believe we have paid the O'Boyle Law Firm. Whether we have received bills or credits or debits, I don't know.
You've paid them attorney's fees to the O'Boyle Law Firm or loaned money to the O'Boyle Law Firm?
Excuse me, whether it's loan money to the O'Boyle Law Firm is irrelevant to any of the claims in this case.
Well, I don't think so. I think to the extent that there's the unlawful practice of law going on and Mr. O'Boyle's involved in it, I think it's going to be part of some of my counterclaims in this case and some of the claims we're going to be bringing with regard to the O'Boyles.
Well, you're engaging in a fishing expedition, Bob. and-
No, I'm not. I want to know what his relationship is with his attorneys in this case. He's filed dozens of cases in his name and hundreds in the name of entities that he has formed and funded that are occupying the same space as the law firm and run by the same people as the law firm. And I'm entitled to find out what his relationship is with this law firm, which I maintain is not a licensed law firm. Mr. O'Boyle, have you received any statements? Let's go back to that because you didn't answer my question. Have you received any statements from the O'Boyle Law Firm regarding this case, services rendered in this case?
Well, firstly, let me correct that I think we filed 9 or 12, not hundreds and hundreds of lawsuits. So
Okay,
I don't
well,
know.
Mr. O'Boyle, I'm going to get into all of your alter egos, like the Citizens Awareness Foundation and other entities that you are intimately involved in and funding later on. So when I say you, I'm referring to you and all of your entities that you have formed and are funding and are running with your personnel, including your lawyers and employees.
I'm going to object to these running
Okay, so-
statements that go on for minutes.
So I'm just answering your client's question, counsel.
No, you're characterizing
Okay.
alter egos and making openings and closings on the record.
We'll get into that. Mr. O'Boyle, let's try again. If I can get an answer, I won't have to explain myself to you. Have you received any billings from the O'Boyle Law Firm with regard to the services that have been rendered or are being rendered in this case?
I have not received any billings from any law firm or any vendor. I don't get that information.
Okay. Who would, you personally, if you are billed for services on this case, who would get those bills?
I can't answer you.
You don't know?
No?
Well, what was your agreement with the O'Boyle Law Firm as to how you would be billed in this case?
I don't recall.
Did you agree to have them represent you on an hourly basis?
I don't think so. Well, It depends on what the case was, I think.
So what were the terms of your employment with regard to this case? Was it on an hourly basis?
I don't think so.
So what were the terms?
I don't know.
You don't know what the terms of your employment of the O'Boyle firm are in this case?
You don't have to keep repeating it. Once is good enough. The answer is no.
And you don't know if there's a writing that memorializes that agreement, correct?
I do not know.
Who did you negotiate the employment arrangement with regard to the O'Boyle law firm?
I may not have negotiated it.
Well, did you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall ever engaging the firm?
That's not what I said.
Well, did you engage the firm?
As far as I'm concerned, yes.
And who is it you contacted to engage the firm?
I don't recall who was handling it. It may have been me. I don't recall.
And did you have discussions with your son, Jonathan, with regard to engaging the firm?
No,
With respect to this case?
With respect to this case.
no.
What about with respect to the case of Gulfstream versus O'Boyle? Did you ask your son, because you've indicated I'm committing a crime by pointing out what you and your son are doing. Let me ask you about what I'm marking as Exhibit 3, which is a petition to Gulfstream Special Magistrate Court, and it's called Case Gulfstream versus O'Boyle. It's dated July 17, 2013, and it says, prepared by Jonathan R. O'Boyle, Esquire, attorney for Martin E. O'Boyle. Let me show you Exhibit 3. Have you ever seen that before, counsel? Sir? That's the only copy I have.
No.
Show that to your attorney first, please.
And what'd you say this was, Bob?
I just read from the heading, counsel.
Okay.
Please look at Exhibit 3, and I want to know, did you retain your son, Jonathan O'Boyle, to represent you as an attorney in Florida in the year 2013 at any time?
No.
And
Nothing I can recall.
Was he authorized to file a document on your behalf with the town of Gulfstream representing that he was the attorney for you?
I'm sure he was, or else he wouldn't have done it.
He was your attorney at that time?
I didn't say that.
Was he your attorney in this proceeding in Gulfstream, Florida in July of 2013?
Well, he prepared a document and as the attorney for Martin O'Boyle, so from there you can take whatever you want,
What should I take from that?
whatever you'd like.
Skip over here.
And didn't your son appear pro hoc vice in a case before Judge Middlebrooks during the summer of 2013?
Then I think, if I'm remembering right, that's the one where Ms. O'Connor lied to the judge. I think that's the one. Yes.
So when I asked you the question of whether or not in the summer of 2013 your son appeared pro hoc vice before Judge Middlebrooks, your response is that's the one where Miss O'Connor lied before the judge?
No, lied to the judge.
Lied to the judge?
Yes.
Okay. In other words, you can't tell me yes or no whether or not your son appeared pro hoc vice without accusing a lawyer in this case of lying.
I'm not accusing her. I'm making a statement. She lied.
Okay. Was that related to my question? I'm now focusing on your son's unauthorized practice of law and your relationship with the O'Boyle law firm. And why would you bring up whether or not you believe Miss O'Connor lied to a federal judge?
Because I think that it should be dealt with. I would never even consider lying to a federal judge. I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think there's a lawyer in this room besides Miss O'Connor that would consider lying to a federal judge.
All right, well, are you aware that Judge Young, in the decision against you in Tennessee, stated that you, quote, made factually ungrounded contentions, close quote, you had, quote, an improper purpose, and that your goal in the litigation was to, quote, punish the defendants, You recall that's what the judge in Tennessee said about your conduct in that case, Mr. O'Boyle?
No.
Okay. And that he had no difficulty, the judge had no difficulty finding you in contempt repeatedly and sanctioning you personally because you were involved in the strategy decisions in the case. Are you aware the judge said that?
No.
Okay. And are you aware that the judge did not sanction your lawyers? He determined to just sanction you and hold you in contempt repeatedly in that case over a 7-year period.
Maybe, I mean, I can't answer that. I never was on the stand. I never testified before him. I never signed anything in front of him. But it is what it is.
Okay. And then you sued Schulman, Rogers, Gandel, Porty, Ecker, PA, Ross D. Cooper, and Mark S. Guberman, correct, your attorneys. You personally, Martin O'Boyle, and others sued your attorneys in federal court in Tennessee, didn't you?
I think New Midland Plaza Associates sued them.
Okay, well, let me show you a copy of an opinion from the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit. The style of the case is Martin E. O'Boyle individually and his general partner in New Midland Plaza Associates et al. Versus Schulman et al. I'm going to mark this as Exhibit 4 to your deposition, sir.
This right here.
Yeah.
Is this another one we only have one copy about?
I only have one copy. I was hoping your client would remember some of this stuff, but apparently he doesn't remember when judges hold him in contempt repeatedly.
Hold on, is that a question, Bob?
Just a statement. I'm answering your question as to why I didn't make multiple copies of this. I wasn't expecting to have to use these to refresh your client's recollection, but I apparently need to.
Where is?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Exhibit 4 is.
It's a copy of an appellate decision from the Sixth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals in a case where Mr. O'Boyle was individually a plaintiff, where he sued his lawyers for malpractice and then took an appeal.
Okay.
You'll see it's a pattern with Mr. O'Boyle. It's not the only malpractice case you're going to see that I'll be questioning him about that he's brought and lost.
Well, I appreciate how you feel about it, but I was just asking what the
I'm just giving you a heads up, Mr. Smith.
It's a good opening, by the way, Bob.
You don't even know what case I'll be opening yet, counsel. I think you're clueless as to what's going on here, or maybe you wouldn't even be sitting there.
No, I think you should continue with your opening
Well,
statement.
Bob, that's not appropriate then, in my opinion. For what it's worth, which may not be much.
If he's going to continue to insult me by saying I'm making openings, I'm going to respond to his criticisms and let him know that his facetious remarks are in all likelihood made out of ignorance, because I have a whole box here of information that he knows nothing about. And maybe when he listens in this deposition and other depositions, he's going to know a lot more than he knows now. And Mr. O'Boyle finds it all very boring, and putting him to sleep, but maybe he won't be asleep at some point in this litigation.
We're going to get to a question at some point today?
I am, as soon as Mr. Smith's done reading the document and handing it back to the witness counsel. I'm trying to be courteous to all four attorneys that are here that have accompanied Mr. O'Boyle to the deposition. Let everyone have a chance to review. Now, have you had a chance to look at that Exhibit 4, Mr. O'Boyle?
I have.
Okay. And do you recall that you, prior to that appeal, personally sued that law firm in a federal district court?
I do not.
Okay. And do you recall that you lost that case in the federal district court?
I do not.
And do you recall that you then took an appeal to the federal appellate court and lost in the federal appellate court?
I do not.
Now, so let's get back to your dealings with the O'Boyle law firm. You don't know the terms of your employment, if any. Do you know if you have any other financial arrangements with the law firm?
I don't know what that means.
Have you paid the law firm any money? Did you pay them a retainer related to this case?
I wouldn't know.
Okay, are you giving them free rent?
No.
Okay, are they paying you rent?
I wouldn't know.
Do they have a lease with the entity that owns the building that you're in?
I would say that they do. It may not be memorialized, but I would say that they do.
You're speculating, or you know?
No, I would say that they do.
You're saying, yes, there is a written lease between the O'Boyle Law Firm and the owner of the building?
Retraction is stating his testimony.
Yeah.
I don't understand your testimony, sir. Is there a written lease between an entity that you have an ownership interest in and the O'Boyle Law Firm?
I don't know.
And who would know that, sir?
I don't know.
And you don't even know the name of the owner of the building, correct?
I can't say for sure.
And how much space is the O'Boyle Law Firm renting in this building?
Half.
Half the building? And is it separately marked space where they're separate from your other uses?
There's a door that locks between us.
Okay. And all these 100 entities that you mentioned are in the other half of the building, and the O'Boyle Law Firm is on the other side of the door?
That's correct.
Okay. And how much is the rent the O'Boyle Law Firm is paying for that space?
I can't help you.
Okay. And who files the sales tax reports for that building, sir?
I can't help you.
Have you looked to see whether or not the entity that owns the real estate is paying sales tax for any rent from the O'Boyle Law Firm?
I have not.
Okay. And have you looked to see if the building, the owner of the building, has paid sales tax for any tenants that are occupying that space over the last 20 years?
I don't understand your question.
Who handles filing sales tax for tenants in the building that you operate in on 128 West Newport Center Drive? Is it Miss DiMartini? Is she the one who has the responsibility of making sure the state is paid all the sales tax on the rent that you receive from tenants in that building?
I don't think so.
Well, who would be, is Mr. Ring the one who's responsible for that?
You could ask him.
Well, I'm asking you, is
I
Mr. Ring?
I don't know.
Okay, well, who's responsible for making sure that the owner of the building pays sales tax on rent that's received from tenants in that building?
Objection.
I don't know.
Hold on. Asked and answered about 5 times.
So, do you know if there's been any rent received from the O'Boyle Law Firm by any entity that you own?
I don't know.
Do you owe the O'Boyle Law Firm any monies currently for legal services?
I don't know.
Do you have copies of any invoices that you've ever received for any legal work from the O'Boyle Law Firm?
I don't know.
Do you have any written agreements with regard to any representation by the O'Boyle Law Firm of you?
I don't know.
Who would know the answer to those questions?
I don't know.
Now, with regard to your defamatory or your statements you made about me on 6/13/14, you had a meeting with Mr. Ring and with Ms. O'Connor and Mr. Randolph prior to going to City Hall, correct?
Bob, are you asking to agree whether the statements were defamatory, or are you striking that portion of your comment?
Mr. O'Boyle, do you consider as you sit here today that the statements you made about me were defamatory?
They were not.
Pardon?
They were not.
They were not. And so you do believe that it's okay for you to say that I consistently misrepresented testimony as a lawyer?
If that's what the courts have written and it's filed, all I did was to read it, then I think it's appropriate.
Well, the court didn't say that I had misrepresented testimony. The court quoted a motion that was filed in a appeal in a case that my name was one of the lawyers on the opinion. Correct? The court never mentioned my name anywhere.
Question or statement?
Isn't that a fact? Aren't you aware of that?
I don't know whether it's a fact or not. I can I can look at the documents again, but I know how testy you get. Okay. So,
Well, did you go, you say you went to City Hall after 6/13/14 and you retracted these statements that you made about me?
yes.
Okay, what exactly did you say? Did you tell me exactly what you said?
I said I made a statement last time I was here about Mr. Sweetapple. It was in error, and then I went ahead to correct it.
Did you identify the specific statement that you said you made that was in error?
I think so.
Each statement?
I think so.
Okay. Did you say on 6/13/2014 that Judge Elizabeth Moss says that Mr. Sweetapple's filing was a slander? Did you say that to the town council?
And that was on what date?
Right here, if you look at this, it's exhibit. It's exhibit 2. This is exhibit 2.
Okay. What were you saying about Judge Moss?
I'm asking you, I'm reading from Exhibit 2, and I want to know, did you say that Judge Moss says that Mr. Sweetapple's filing was a slander? Did you say that to the Town Council of Gulfstream?
I don't know. Where are you showing me here? Is this where you're showing me? Okay, if you don't want to answer me, you don't have to.
I've said 3 times now, it's Exhibit 2, Mr. O'Boyle. Did you hear me say that? I've said that 3 times in the last 45 seconds. I've said
I haven't heard you say it.
Okay, well, let me try it again.
Okay.
It's Exhibit 2, Mr. O'Boyle. I actually touched it and tried to show it to you. So for the 4th time, it's Exhibit 2, Mr. O'Boyle. It's the same document that you've looked at the other statements you made about me in front of my client. Do you recall the question, Mr. O'Boyle?
Generally, yes.
What is the question I've asked you?
If I said the judge, whatever her name was, Moss, said that Mr. Sweetapple consistently represented testimony.
No, I quoted the transcript which says, there's another case in Palm Beach County Circuit Court, the judge, Elizabeth Moss, says that Mr. Sweetapple's filing was a slander. And I'm asking, did you say that to the town council on June 13, 2014?
I can't answer you
Why?
because I don't know the answer.
Okay, so Exhibit 2 doesn't refresh your recollection that that's what you said?
No, Exhibit 2 refreshed my recollection that that's what you said.
So Exhibit 2, which is a transcription of the meeting that was prepared by the town, doesn't refresh your recollection.
The town's transcriptions are unreliable, and I'm not going to rely on that.
Okay, so when did you go to the town did you go to the town to retract statements you'd made about me?
Yes.
And when did you go to do that?
think it was July 11th.
Okay. And do you recall specifically what you said?
No,
Do you recall what statements you retracted?
I don't.
Do you recall how you retracted them?
I stood up at the podium and I said last time I was here I made a statement or some statements about Mr. Sweetapple. They were in error and I want to correct them, and I corrected him.
Did you specifically mention the statements that you were retracting or correcting?
I told you what I remember.
Have you ever looked at a transcript or a tape of that appearance that you made?
Maybe.
Did you ever write to me and apologize for making those statements?
If I made them erroneously, I apologize right here and now.
What do you mean, if you made them erroneously? Did you make them erroneously?
Well, you're telling me I did. I have no knowledge that I did.
So your retraction was not based on your belief that they were in error?
Well, no, you're putting words in my mouth. I don't know.
Are you retracting your statements?
hold on.
I'm going to retract. I'm going to withdraw my question. Mr. O'Boyle,
You can withdraw
are
the
you...
question. Hold on a second. Marty, were you in the middle of an answer?
Yes.
I'm withdrawing the question.
Well, he can finish making the statement
No,
that
he
he was
can't. I'm
making.
withdrawing the question. I'm going to phrase another question.
Bob,
Mr.
I don't care if you
O'Boyle.
want to say withdraw. You can go ahead and finish the statement you were making.
Okay.
No, he can't, but go ahead and we'll take that up with the judge. You're giving improper instructions to the witness. I'm trying to take a deposition.
Okay. I made an error the first time I said it. I didn't make an error in the facts. I made an error in the sources. And once I realized that, I went back either the next month or the next meeting after that, I don't recall. And to the best of my knowledge, I corrected it. If I did not fully correct it, then I want to say to Mr. Sweetapple, anything that I said about you that was incorrect, I apologize and I take it back.
Okay, what did you say about me that was incorrect?
Anything that I said about you that was incorrect, I apologize and I take it back.
You call that a retraction? What is it you said about me that is incorrect that you're taking back, Mr. O'Boyle?
I've answered the question.
So you're not going to tell me what your retraction encompasses?
Only because I don't know that I said anything at all.
So you're really not retracting, you're just equivocating?
Well, you can, if you want to sit here, you can walk back and forth and you can ask your questions and answer them yourself.
Okay. Well, you've sued people for defamation before.
I have.
Okay, you're familiar with defamation law.
I am.
You sued Mr. Eisen for defamation, correct?
I did,
And why did you sue him for defamation?
because I think he deserved it.
What did he call you that you thought deserved it?
The enemy of the people.
Right. And that case was dismissed, right?
That case, yeah, New Jersey's a very difficult case to win a slander suit. Very, very difficult.
And who else? Have you sued anyone else for defamation?
You,
Okay. And anyone else?
Mr. Morgan,
Okay. Anyone else?
not yet.
Okay. So that's a case that I was just served with this morning.
I have no idea.
Okay. Yeah. Your process server came by this morning and gave me a lawsuit. So you've sued me for defamation.
Yes,
And yet you're here purporting to retract defamatory statements you made about me.
I'm not going to answer that anymore.
And when you went to the meeting in July, you told the council that you were going to come back with other information about me, right?
I don't recall.
Now, on June 4th, you met with Mr. Ring, Mr. Randolph, and Ms. O'Connor with regard to the motion that I had filed to disqualify the O'Boyle Law Firm, right?
Yes, it was, by the way, it was very disgraceful.
The meeting?
No, the motion that you filed, it was absolutely, it was an embarrassment to the legal profession.
Okay, well, we're going to go into the facts that are set forth in that motion and that revolve around the issue of whether or not your son's firm is a lawful Florida law firm. But we'll do that sequentially so you can show me what you think is a disgrace, and then I'll show you some other evidence, and we'll decide whether or not there's any basis for my statements or not. We'll certainly, I think there'll be entities and courts that will be making those determinations, Mr. O'Boyle. We'll certainly start fleshing out some of those facts here, don't worry. At this meeting on June 4th that you and Mr. Ring called, did you indicate that you wanted to meet with Mr. Randolph and Ms. O'Connor with regard to the motion I had filed?
No.
Did Mr. Ring?
Hold on a second. And I don't know if you want to go off the record and excuse the witness, but if we're going to talk about the substance of this meeting, which I believe there was some agreement to treat it as confidential, and I know there's a follow-up letter that says we don't consider this to be settlement or confidential, but as far as I know right now, there's an agreement in place that says this is a confidential settlement meeting. So if you want to start discussing...
There's no agreement that it's a confidential settlement agreement. There was a
Really?
meeting, there was an agreement that if settlement was discussed, it would be treated as confidential. We have memoranda quickly prepared after the meeting that will demonstrate that there was no settlement of any matter discussed, and I'm going to go through that. I appreciate your caution.
I understand that's your position, but if my client feels otherwise, and if Skip's clients feel otherwise as to what was discussed and whether it was a settlement discussion or not, I'd rather flesh that out before we waive any sort of objection that this is a confidential settlement meeting that shouldn't be
Well, first of all, I
discussed.
think when you research the law, you'll find that that deals with whether or not it's admissible in trial. It has nothing to do with this deposition.
So
So let me go forward, please,
So hold on,
counsel.
so what you're saying, just so I'm clear on the record, is that if a confidential settlement meeting happens, you're entitled to inquire into what was discussed during discovery.
If it's not a mediation, the court can hear what was said and determine whether or not it is settlement discussions or not, and then opine and rule whether or not it gets admitted into evidence. It happens all the time.
Bob, I understand what you're
Okay.
saying. I'm only asking you whether you feel you're entitled to inquire into it in a deposition of someone where there's a position that it's a confidential settlement meeting. If Mr. O'Boyle says it's a confidential settlement meeting, is it your position that you are entitled to inquire into what was said during that meeting?
I've said
Ye-
this
yes
to
or no?
I've said this to you in two different ways. I'll say it another way.
I only want a yes
I
or no.
will not inquire into something that I don't think is appropriate, calculated to lead to discovery of admissible evidence, or, in this case, going to be admitted, okay? A, I don't think there was any settlement discussion that went on. B, I do not believe my client agreed that the communications would be treated as settlement unless there was settlement discussion. C, to the extent you believe there's settlement discussions and I don't, the court's going to have to hear the discussions and the testimony in order to make that decision, okay? So
Fair
I'm
enough.
going to proceed if I can.
Fair enough. Just do me one favor.
Why don't you wait? Right,
Just do me one favor and ask him whether he believes this was a confidential settlement negotiation or not, and I'll let you proceed. I don't care how he answers, I'll let you proceed.
you can ask whatever questions you want on cross-examination. I'm going to wait till, Joanne has to go take a phone call, so I'm going to wait till she's back for this area of inquiry because she was involved in it, and I want her to be able to give me her insights.
All right, then we're taking a break off the record.
No, I'm just going to go on to the next matter.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you meant
No,
you
no,
were
no,
going to wait
no.
for
I'm
her.
just going to hold off on this exhibit until she comes back, and I'll go into that.
Apologies.
point.
All right, Mr. O'Boyle just indicated that he needs to get lunch in the next few minutes, so I don't know if there's a logical
I'll
stopping
be happy
place.
to break. Be happy to break right now. Let them get lunch. Let
Yeah, let's do
Joanne
that
handle
while
our
she's
call.
on her phone call.
And 1 o'clock, 1:30. You tell me.
Let's try for 1, and we'll see, if we can get back by then. If not,
Perfect.
1:30.
Time is 12 p.m. and we're going off the record. Time is 1:17 p.m. and we are back on the record.
All right, Mr. O'Boyle, I'd like to go back and follow up on some background I was getting into with you. You mentioned early in your deposition that there was litigation in Longport, New Jersey. You described O'Boyle versus Longport, New Jersey, 2 Oprah cases, and a case involving a Mr. Eisen. Is there any other litigation in Longport that you were involved in?
Did you say was or is?
Was and or is?
Okay, is no. Was, there were some additional public records lawsuits.
Okay, and you didn't bring any other, did you bring any other claims against any individuals, any ethics claims or criminal claims or other lawsuits
Objection form.
in New Jersey, in Longport?
No, I didn't.
Okay. In Longport, as I understand it, your litigation with that town commenced with 2 notices of violation you got for allegedly making modifications to the ground floor of your home there. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay. Can you tell me how long were you involved in litigation with the city of Longport, or the town of Longport? Is it a town or city?
It's a borough.
A borough, okay. How long were you involved in litigation with the borough of Longport?
I don't know.
Okay. Were you ever a resident of Longport, New Jersey?
What is a resident?
I mean, did you ever make that your lawful residency? Did you ever have your driver's license registered there or vote there?
Yes,
Okay. When were you a resident of Longport?
in the 70s.
In the 70s, okay. And so have you owned the same property there since the 70s?
I don't own any property there.
Okay. Is there a home there that you use in Longport that received violations from the borough?
There's a home there that I do use, yes.
And who is it owned by?
It's owned by my wife.
Okay. And you've used that as a primary residence and then a vacation home over the last 40 years?
I have no idea what you said.
Okay. Have you used that as a primary residence and then a vacation home on and off during the past 40 years?
What's a primary residence?
The time period you described where you had your voter's registration there.
That was in the 70s. We didn't own the home at that point.
Okay. And then, so when did your wife obtain title to this home?
I'm going to guess mid-80s.
Okay. And how did your dispute with, you did get into a legal battle with the town of Longport, didn't you? Borough of Longport.
I don't know I'd call it that, but
Well, did you sue them?
yes, I did sue them.
Okay. And you personally were a plaintiff in the case?
Yes, I was personally.
And your wife was a plaintiff?
Not at all.
Just you?
Yes.
So at that point you owned the home, correct?
No,
Okay, then what were the grounds for your suit?
I can't explain it to you.
You don't remember?
No, I said I can't explain it to you
Why can't you explain it to me?
because I cannot articulate it.
You don't know that the town issued 2 zoning violations to you that prompted you to file suit?
That's right.
Okay, and you also, when you got into this fight with the town, propounded public records requests to them, didn't you?
I think I propounded public records to them long before we got into a suit.
And when did you start propounding public records requests to the town, the borough of Longport?
If I had to guess, and I shouldn't be guessing, I don't know.
Okay. Do you know how many total public records requests you propounded to the borough of Longport?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know if it was more than 1,000?
I don't think so.
And do you know, have you seen any reference to your actions in any court opinions regarding the effect that your conduct had on the clerk of the town, of the
No.
borough? And do you recall what any of the documents you were seeking from the borough of Longport were?
Well, initially, it was in connection with the plans or the construction of other homes, and then it sort of grew from there.
Okay. And how did it grow? Describe for me what happened.
Well, you might ask if Susie wears dresses, and the answer is yes, and then you might ask, what color dresses does she have? And then she would answer, and then it's, what type of dresses are they? So sort of one gives you an answer, but also gives you a question.
Do you remember my question, Mr. O'Boyle?
I thought I answered it.
What was my question that you thought you answered?
I didn't memorize it.
Well, do you have any idea what it was?
Why don't you tell me and save us some
Please.
time?
It wasn't about any dresses, so would you please read the question back to Mr. O'Boyle?
How did it grow? Describe for me what happened. How did it grow? Describe for me what happened.
It grew by needing additional related information.
Okay. And the litigation went for over 2 years, correct?
No.
How long did the litigation with the town go on?
I don't know.
And in the litigation, during the litigation, you alleged that the town had moved some signs of yours, right?
No.
Okay. So you never alleged that this town had been involved in, that employees of the borough had been involved in removing signs?
And you asked me about, can we read Mr. Sweetapple's question back, please?
Let me rephrase it for you.
Sure.
Did you allege during the incident with the town or borough of Longport that the town had removed signs of yours?
No.
Okay. And was that ever a subject of your? Did you ever say the borough workers moved the signs to spite you?
I don't think so.
Okay. And so in this article that I'm going to mark as Exhibit 7, 5? 5? Okay, 5, I'm sorry. I looked here and I saw
I'm
7.
sorry, I have
She's got them on the side of the table.
Okay.
ready to go.
Okay. I'm going to show you an article that was published. Signs show O'Boyle v. Longport not over. Marty O'Boyle picked up signs posted on his beachfront property from Longport's Public Works yard on Friday. Borough officials say a recent storm carried the signs from 28th Avenue to 25th Avenue, but O'Boyle says borough workers moved it to spite him. Did you ever escalate the litigation over your alleged zoning violations with allegations that the city or employees of the borough had moved your signs from your property?
No.
Okay. And did you ever hire a private detective and a physicist to attempt to prove that signs had been moved from your property?
No,
Okay, and in this case, you're alleging that signs have been removed, are you not?
I don't know. I can't see.
Well, the case that you're pending, the case you're here on, that you're being deposed in, concerns your allegation that campaign signs have been removed.
Oh, yes, uh-huh.
Okay. So it's a similar allegation as you made in New Jersey, correct?
No.
Okay. And, all right, let me mark this as Exhibit 5. And this is Mr. Eisen worked for the planning board of the borough, correct?
He was a member of the Planning and Zoning Board, which is a voluntary spot, but I think he ended in 2009, but I'm not sure.
And as part of this litigation in Longport, do you know how many public record type lawsuits you filed?
No,
And you don't know how many public records requests you made?
no,
And are you aware that you flew banners maligning town employees and others? Did you cause banners to be flown in Longport, New Jersey, maligning any individuals?
Objection form.
I don't know what you mean by maligning.
Making derogatory statements about anyone?
What's a derogatory statement? Is that something that's not allowed by the First Amendment?
Not necessarily.
Okay, well, I don't know what it is.
Critical statement, insulting statement, childish statement, scatological statement, where you talk about body functions, farting, or someone's a putz or a douchebag, things like that we stop doing in third grade usually.
Do I have to object on form, or?
Are there any such comments like that you caused to be flown on any planes or blimps in Longport, New Jersey, in the course of your dispute with that borough?
So you're asking
Hold
about,
on. You make my objection. Objection form.
You can answer the question, Mr. O'Connor.
you're asking if I flew any banners where I called someone a douchebag.
Or any derogatory, any insulting term.
Well, I want to make sure I understand.
Let me rephrase it. Did you fly any banners? Did you cause any banners to be flown in Longport in conjunction with your litigation with that town?
No.
Did you cause any blimps to be flown? You really can't ask your attorney for advice during this deposition, Mr. O'Boyle. You're going to have to. You're on the stand. You're
Is there a
under oath.
privilege issue that you need to discuss with me?
No. What was your question?
Did you cause any blimps to be flown?
No.
Were any banners flown in New Jersey that referenced any employees or residents of the town of borough of Longport that you're aware of?
Can you say that again?
Were any banners flown by any planes or any blimps flown that contained messages regarding any residents of Longport that you're aware of?
Objection form.
During the time this dispute with the borough was ongoing?
Can you say it again?
Sure. Are you aware whether or not any banners were flown in Longport at any time while your dispute with them was ongoing?
I don't know.
Were you ever asked about any banners by media?
I think so.
And did you ever deny that you were involved in the flying of banners while you were questioned by the media in Longport, New Jersey?
I don't know that I was asked, so I can't answer that question.
Okay. And do you have any knowledge as to who was flying banners in Longport, New Jersey?
Several people.
Okay. Who was anyone that is in your employ?
No.
Any entities that you had any control over?
No.
Did you have any discussions with anyone about flying banners?
In Longport.
In Longport.
With this litigation.
Yeah, during the Longport litigation.
I don't know.
You don't know if you had any conversations?
No.
Why not? You can't remember?
I don't recall having any conversations.
Did you pay anyone to fly banners?
No.
Okay. Do you have any idea who was involved in the flying of any banners in Longport during the time of this litigation?
There were several people, one of which was Peter Eisen, one of which was Frank Alfano, and that's all I can remember.
And
right
what
now.
did those banners say?
I don't remember.
Okay. And so no one did anybody that you knew personally fly any banners?
Peter Eisen and Frank Alfano.
Okay. But they did not fly banners at your request?
They did not fly banners at my request.
Were those banners critical of you?
I think yeah, I think some of them were.
Do you recall what they said?
No.
Okay. And are you aware of any banners that were flown that were critical of either of these gentlemen?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Do you recall any banners that were flown that were critical of either of those two gentlemen, Alfano or Eisen?
Eisen, I don't remember Alfano, so I can't answer you there. But Eisen, and I guess it would depend on what you would call critical versus humorous.
Okay. And did other family members and neighbors and allies of yours file lawsuits in Longport over the Longport issue?
Objection.
Not that I know of.
Okay. And that is reported in the media in various articles regarding your dispute. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not.
Okay. And did you file a grievance against anyone on an ethics charge in Longport as related to this dispute?
Yes.
Okay, and that was dismissed, was it not?
Yeah, and when you say me, I don't know that it was me who filed the ethics.
Well, wasn't it Martin O'Boyle versus the Borough of Longport?
If that's what it was, then it was me.
And you
yes.
lost at the ethics committee level and at the appellate level, correct?
Correct.
And you said to one journalist, the Irish guys, they don't give up too easy. A friend of mine said, Irish Alzheimer's is when you forget everything except the grudges. Do you recall saying that?
I do.
Okay, so you carry grudges?
No, that's what my friend said.
Okay, so you were quoting him?
Yeah, it was an
With approval or without approval?
it was an Irish writer, reporter, and we were having some fun. And at the end, I said, "Before you leave, let me tell you something," and that's what happened.
Well, the article, the writer says But few could understand just how personal this battle got, the lawsuits flying back and forth, criminal complaints being filed, and accusations of harassment, vandalism, slander, the fodder for a good beach novel. Nor could they realize how embroiled O'Boyle became in the fight. By his own admission, it hurt his business and his personal life, but he's hardly one to quit. While the borough stake isn't small change, O'Boyle anteed up at least $300,000. Quote, this is your quote, "The Irish guys, they don't give up too easy," O'Boyle said. A friend of mine said, "Irish Alzheimer's is when you forget everything except the grudges." Did you, in fact, spend at least $300,000 in the litigation with Longport?
I don't know.
Okay. And this was only early on in the litigation, right? This was September 3 of 2008. The litigation went on well after that, didn't it?
I don't know.
And were there criminal complaints filed in the litigation with Longport?
Longport filed a quasi-criminal complaint against me.
Did you file any criminal complaints?
Pardon?
Did you file any criminal complaints against anyone?
Boy, I don't think so.
Didn't you file criminal complaints against the Di Lorenzo family, 2 of them?
No.
You're sure of that?
Yes, I am.
And one of your public records request case went to the appellate division, correct? One where you saw letters in a compact disc?
I don't remember.
Okay, and the appellate court ruled in favor of the borough, correct?
I don't think so, but... yes, there was one case that we lost that went to the Supreme Court.
Right. Did you have any planes in that you owned, or any companies that owned any planes or blimps in New Jersey during the time of this litigation?
Say that again?
Did you personally or through any entities have any interest in any planes or blimps in New Jersey during the last 10 years?
Can I ask you a question about the privilege?
You have to ask me a favorite question.
What was your question again?
Could you read it back, please?
Did you personally or through any entities have any interest in any claims or blimps in New Jersey during the last 10 years?
I apologize for this, but would you do it again, please?
Did you personally or through any entities have any interest in any claims or blimps in New Jersey during the last 10 years?
Yes.
And can you tell me what those interests were? Why not?
because I don't know.
Okay. What type of plane, what entity had an interest in a plane?
I don't know.
And was the interest in a plane, a blimp, or both?
Plane.
Okay. Do you know what kind of plane it was?
At what point in time?
Any time during the last 10 years, what planes did you have an ownership interest in?
I had
directly
a-
or indirectly in New Jersey?
I had a Cessna T206. I had a BE 300. And I had a Cessna Caravan. And I had an Extra 400.
Okay, and who flew those planes?
Pilots.
Okay, what were the pilots' names?
Eduardo Gatica,
How do you spell the last name?
Gatica. The Extra, I don't remember, Tim somebody. And then the Caravan, Kevin somebody.
And were these planes ever used to pull banners, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
And is your son Jonathan a pilot?
He is.
Okay, did he ever fly these planes?
The 206.
Okay. And do you know if he ever pulled any banners?
Never.
Okay, do you know if in Florida he has, do you have any planes in Florida or blimps in Florida?
Do I what?
Do you have access indirectly or directly to any planes in Florida during the last 3 years?
Check the form.
I don't know how to answer the question.
Okay, do you individually or through entities own any interest in any planes that have flown in Florida during the last 2 years?
No.
And what about blimps?
What's your question?
Do you have any ownership directly or indirectly in any blimp?
No.
And have you caused any banners to be flown in Dade or Broward or Palm Beach County during the past 5 years?
Yes.
When is the first time that you have caused banners to be flown in South Florida?
Beyond 5 years ago.
Beyond 5 years ago? So when's the first time you've caused a banner to be flown?
Beyond 5 years ago.
Now tell me when.
I can't tell you. Beyond 5 years ago.
More than 10 years ago?
No.
Okay, and what was the first occasion that you caused banners to be flown?
I don't recall.
Where was it?
I think it was the Palm Beach County Courthouse. I think.
Okay. And what did it involve?
Banners.
I mean, what did the banners involve? What did they pertain to?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Do you remember what the banner said?
No.
Do you remember if it involved Mr. Ehrenberg?
No.
Is
Do
it
not.
Mr. Is it McAuliffe? Is that how you pronounce it? McAuliffe?
I think a better way of saying it is it involved his office.
Okay. Did it involve a prosecution of your daughter Sarah for DUI?
No.
Okay. Was your daughter prosecuted for DUI at the time that you flew these banners?
No.
Okay. Had she been arrested?
Probably 4 years earlier, maybe.
Okay. And had she been convicted?
She had been convicted, yes.
How soon before you flew the banners?
About 4 years, maybe.
Okay. So why did you fly these banners at the Palm Beach County Courthouse?
Because I thought the prosecutor's office needed to be brought down a notch or two. And I ran some banners.
I'm sorry, you what, rented?
Ran
ran
some banners.
How many times did you fly banners?
Can't answer you.
And who did you have fly these banners?
Can't answer you.
Why not?
Because I don't know.
Well, where did you go? Which airport?
I didn't go to any airport.
Who did you call to do this?
Somebody from my office would have called.
Okay, and who was called, do you know?
No.
Who from your office called?
Well, likely Michelle, I can't think of her last name.
Okay, and who decided what to put on these banners? Was that your decision?
I would say, for the most part, it would be my decision, yes.
And did your flying these banners have to do with Mr. McCullough refusing to meet with you after your daughter was convicted of DUI?
No.
Okay. Now how many times did you fly banners directed to Mr. McCullough?
I don't know.
And you also had Ms. DiMartini hire actors to stage a protest, didn't you, concerning Mr. McCullough?
No.
Did Ms. DiMartini hire people to stage a protest of Mr. McCullough's office, to your knowledge?
I don't know for sure.
What do you know about that subject?
I know that there was a protest.
And are you aware that it's been widely reported that that Denise Martini hired the individuals who were professional actors to stage that protest? And that was done at Mr. Ehrenberg's request, right?
You have to ask Mr. Ehrenberg.
Okay, Mr. Ehrenberg was involved in organizing those protests with you, wasn't he?
No.
And did you file a ethics complaint against Mr. Ehrenberg?
No.
Did you ever have a falling out with Mr. Ehrenberg?
I'd say a misunderstanding with Mr. Ehrenberg, be better stated.
And you never filed any ethics complaint with him?
He did nothing unethical.
Okay. And your daughter was convicted of DUI in 2011, right?
I don't know.
Okay. And in conjunction with that prosecution, you submitted in 1 month more than 1,300 public records requests to State Attorney Ehrenberg and State Attorney Bruce Colton, correct? While the case was pending.
No.
Did one of you, any of, not you personally, but you or a company that you're affiliated with, submit more than 1,300 public records requests to Ehrenberg and Colton's office during your daughter's prosecution?
No.
Okay. How many public records do you believe that you, strike that, did you or any company that you're involved in submit any public records requests to either State Attorney Ehrenberg or Colton's office?
Yes.
And what about to State Attorney McCullough? Did you submit any public records requests to State Attorney McCullough?
I don't think so.
Okay. And the public records requests that you submitted to Mr. Ehrenberg and Mr. Colton's offices, was that while a prosecution of your daughter was pending?
No.
It was after the prosecution was over?
Yes.
You're certain of that?
I think so.
And what about while the appeal was pending? Did you do it while an appeal was pending?
I don't know.
And what documents were you seeking from Mr. Ehrenberg's office with all these requests you filed?
Well, I don't know how many requests I filed, and I don't know which documents I was seeking as I sit here, and nor do I know how many I was seeking as I sit here.
You don't know how many public records requests were served by you personally to Mr. Ehrenberg while your daughter was either under prosecution or in the appellate process?
Objection, asked and answered.
I'm just asking about him personally. Do you know how many personally you submitted?
I think you've asked me this.
No, just you personally. I don't want to know what the whole global amount. I know what I have the reports and the totals on the global amount. I want to know if you know how much you personally remember.
Why don't we have the court reporter read it back? That way we'll know.
Do you have an answer?
Pardon?
Do you have an answer? Do you know?
I don't know if I've answered the question. I'd like to just leave that answer.
I'm not reading your answers back. I can read questions back, and I'll rephrase the question for you. Do you know, let me do it this way, do you know what companies that you're involved in made public records requests while your daughter was being either prosecuted for DUI or was under appeal for her DUI conviction?
No.
Do you recall even one topic of one document that you were seeking when you filed those requests?
No.
Okay. And did you file those requests to bring the prosecutor down a notch?
You're asking me to go back a few years that I'm not sure that I could do. I filed requests to gain information that I thought would be helpful to my daughter. Whether I expanded that to bring the prosecutor down a notch, as you say, I don't know. But unfortunately, as you know, politicos get out of control from time to time, and they have to be brought down a notch.
And in fact, when you were asked why you were making the public records requests, you replied to the writer, quote, "You like to know about your enemy." Isn't that what you said?
Replied to which writer?
The writer of the article concerning your Blimpco, Sweet Errand Boy Blimpco LLC, which made more than 1,300 public records requests between February 12 and March 13, 2012.
Bob, it's your deposition. I mean, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here, but if we're going to spend 8 hours just with you reading from newspaper articles and asking him if the newspaper article is true or not, I mean, I don't know what exactly you're trying to accomplish here.
Mr. O'Boyle, did you tell a reporter in 2012 when asked why you filed over 1,000 public records requests in 1 month that, quote, "you like to know about your enemy," referring to the state attorneys of Palm Beach and Treasure Coast?
I don't recall.
Did you consider the state attorneys your enemies?
I would say generally stated no.
And are you familiar with an entity by the name of Sweet Errand Boy Blimpco LLC?
May I see what you're looking at? Yes, I am.
Okay, and is that a company you caused to be formed?
Yes.
And does it own a blimp?
Does it own a blimp? No, it does not own a blimp.
Okay. Does it have any interest in a blimp?
No, it does not have any interest in a blimp.
Okay. Why did you name an LLC Sweet Aaron Boy Blimp Co.? Is there any relation to a blimp at all?
There could have been, and that was the name that I picked, and we formed it, and there it is.
Did it have any ownership interest in the blimp at the time you formed the LLC?
No.
And did you also tell the reporter that, quote, "I'll hit them with more lawsuits than they can possibly handle"?
Not that I recall.
And did you tell the reporter that you hired 2 attorneys just to make public records requests?
No.
And did you file any public records lawsuits with regard to the request that you inundated the state attorney's offices with?
Yeah, I don't accept inundated. If you'd like to ask me a different question, I'll answer.
You don't think filing 874 public record requests on Bruce Colton and 454 requests on Dave Ehrenberg in a 30-day period is inundating their offices with public records requests?
I don't really disagree with your numbers, Bob. When you're reading off a newspaper article and you're not even asking him, you've asked him how many he filed, and he said, I don't know.
Are you aware you filed 874 public records requests with Bruce Colton in 1 month in 2012?
No.
Are you aware that you filed 454 with Dave Ehrenberg's office?
No.
What do you consider inundating a public official or municipality with public records requests? How many do you think is reasonable?
I don't know. I don't know.
Can you tell me one document you obtained through these public records requests on the state attorneys that you remember at all?
No.
And some of the signs behind planes said, "Beware thug prosecutors." Do you recall that?
I'm sorry?
"Beware thug prosecutors." Do you recall that sign, that banner?
I'm still not understanding. I can't.
There was one banner that read, "Beware thug prosecutors." Do you recall that banner?
Beware thug prosecutors?
Right.
I do not.
Okay. Did you have anything to do with that banner?
If I don't recall it, I don't recall it.
Okay. Dump McCullough for prosecutor, vote for Elmer Fudd. Was that a banner that you had anything to do with?
Probably.
Okay. Thought you said you didn't fly any banners attacking Mr. McCullough.
Then I heard. That's what I said.
Smile if you think Mike McCullough is a putz. That's you, right?
Yeah.
Because putz is one of your favorite words you like to use in describing people, right?
Well, such as yourself.
Right. You like to use that for me, for Mr. Morgan. What is a putz?
A jerk.
Okay. Is that all it is?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you like to call people jerks.
No, I don't like to call people jerks. I like to call jerks jerks.
Okay. So you think it's appropriate while I'm litigating against you to call me a jerk?
Well, I didn't say it was appropriate or not.
Okay. Well, you have called me a jerk, right?
Well, you call a spade a spade.
Okay. Right. So you've called me a jerk, right?
Are we here about your feelings, Bob, or to actually
No,
talk
we're
about
here-
this case?
We're here about my motion for litigation
Are your
abuse.
feelings hurt, or do we actually want to talk
We're
about?
here about your client's abusive conduct in litigation
No,
and
no.
sanctioning him and his counsel.
No, we're not here about cases in Tennessee. We're not here about flying signs 10 years ago. As far as I know, we're here about a motion for sanctions and an amendment to that motion for sanctions that you filed in this case, which as far as I can tell relate to 2 items. some meeting that happened in June that you've yet to talk about. It's 2 p.m. And some signs that allegedly were flown this year, which we have yet to talk about. And perhaps, maybe, even get to the merits of this case at some point this afternoon.
Well, the signs have the same words in them as I'm talking about in this case, and I'm getting into his MO, his intent, and I intend to show that this gentleman has been engaging, as I allege in the motion, in conduct that is classic litigation abuse in multi-jurisdictions, that he has been sanctioned for it, that he knows it's not permitted, and that he's continuing to do it. So it's not about my feelings, it's about whether or not it's appropriate for my client to say that you are rotten, or to say you lay smelly farts, or to threaten your children. And I'll get into everything that I'm going to prove this gentleman did in this case, and I'm going to prove he did it in other instances. And it's just a very small part of his illegal conduct that we're going to be getting into in this litigation. So just be patient.
Well,
please. I've been doing this 34 years. I will tie it all up for you. All your mysteries will be solved.
Bob, I appreciate
Okay,
it.
so let
but
me
I'd
just go
rather-
forward.
Can you hold on a second?
No, we're done talking.
I appreciate it.
Mr. O'Boyle, I
Hey,
have questions.
Excuse
Mr.
me.
O'Boyle, I have questions.
appreciate it if you might be able to do this, say, perhaps before 10 p.m. tonight, so we can all get home.
We're not
It's
gonna
2
go till
p.m.
10
right now.
We're not going to 10 p.m. tonight. Your client has 12 cases pending just in his name. He's got over 100 in a bogus entity called Citizens Awareness Foundation that he's used with his son to shake down governments throughout this state, okay?
Really?
For money, yes.
I'm
Right?
here for one
So-
case, Bob. I'm not here
Well-
for 12 cases, 100 cases. I'm not here for a case in Tennessee.
I'm
here to deposition
to
in
amend-
one case.
That's right, and I'm going to be amending and bringing claims in this case that we're going to relate to all these other cases. So allow me to take my discovery. Your client's filed 12 lawsuits just in his name. Certainly he's not in a rush not to be deposed. He apparently wants to be deposed. He wants to tell a story. He has all these claims that we need to find out about. So let me find out about this claim and exactly what he's doing.
I would
Okay,
love
and
for
how
you
he
to ask
wants to
about this
litigate.
claim.
Let's see how he wants to
I would
litigate.
love for you to ask about this claim at some point
Oh, I think-
before, let's see, it's 2:05 now. We started at 9:30. I don't think I have heard a single question today about this claim, this lawsuit, or the allegations you have raised in your motion to dismiss.
Okay, well then,
Maybe I'm not paying attention, but I don't think I've heard
you
a
know what?
single
It's not
question.
my job to educate you. If you think that's the case, then God bless you.
Well, thank
Okay,
you for
Mr.
that.
O'Boyle,
May
Mr.
the Lord be
O'Boyle,
with you.
Mr. O'Boyle.
Thank you.
So do you think it's appropriate, when you were involved in the litigation with trying to assist your daughter in her criminal matters, and you were flying banners calling Mr. McCullough a jerk, without telling me what was said, did you ever talk to any attorneys about whether or not that was appropriate?
Yes.
And without telling me what was said, when you have, in this litigation, called Mr. Morgan, the mayor, a putz during this litigation, have you spoken with any attorneys as to whether or not that was appropriate?
No.
Okay. And do you think it's appropriate in this litigation to publicly defame me?
Objection.
It's a legal question. I can't answer it.
Do you think it's appropriate for you to make statements that I, as a member of the bar, are misrepresenting the law or facts?
I'm sorry, say it again.
To make
sir.
public statements that I'm misrepresenting the law or facts, or have done that? Do you think it's appropriate for you to do that publicly during this litigation?
I still didn't catch it. Would you say it again?
No, I'll withdraw it.
Okay.
Just for the record, I do think that was a relevant question at 2:07 p.m.
You have continued to make facetious comments throughout the deposition, to to make speaking objections.
I think it was relevant.
Okay, and I don't need you to comment on whether you think something's relevant. You think relevancy even matters in a deposition. You think settlement discussions can't be discussed in a deposition.
I didn't say that.
I really don't need you to comment on whether something's relevant or not. You're not the judge, and that's not the legal standard. So that's one reason I don't put much credence in your preaching to me.
Are you the judge, Bob?
No, I'm not, and I'd like
Great,
to
thanks.
take a
Why don't you
deposition.
continue, why don't you continue
Thank
then?
you.
Can I be
Thank
the
you.
judge?
Not today.
Now, as a result of your daughter's case, you and your wife filed a civil suit against the Stoffs, correct?
I don't know if my wife was involved, but I think we did.
She was a plaintiff as well. Don't you recall that?
No.
And you alleged that you were you had pain and suffering because you saw the video of your daughter's DUI testing, right?
I believe something, I don't remember the exactly what was there, but it's something akin to that, yes.
And then Judge Crowe threw those claims out also, right?
I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, and you were sanctioned, and your attorneys were sanctioned in that litigation just this year, weren't you?
I don't think I was sanctioned, but I don't know.
Okay, you don't recall that?
No, I said I don't know that.
Were you aware that fees were awarded under 57105?
No.
Who was that against?
The Stoffs. Randy and Janice Stofft. That's who the case was brought against.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, Mr. Whitmer was the attorney from the O'Boyle law firm.
All right, I just didn't catch you.
Yeah, the Stofft, Randy Stofft, the architect, and his former wife. Okay. Now, you asked to strike that. Did you ask, or did your attorney, Mr. Ring, ask to have a meeting with Mr. Randolph and Ms. O'Connor in June of this year?
I believe Mr. Ring asked to have a meeting for the purposes of a settlement conference.
A settlement conference of what?
To try to settle whatever case was hot at the time. I don't remember.
Whatever case or cases? Or?
Whether case or cases.
And was the purpose to discuss the motion to disqualify the O'Boyle law firm?
I think that was one of the purposes, yes.
And was Mr. Ring counsel in any of the cases that were pending at that time?
You have to ask him.
Okay, well, he wasn't counsel in any of the cases that were pending at that time, was he, Mr. O'Boyle? You know that.
Asked and answered.
Okay, don't you know that Mr. Ring was not serving as an attorney in any of the cases on June 4, 2014?
Objection. Same question 3 times.
Can you answer that?
I guess you know the answer, so
I want to know if you know the answer.
the answer is, I don't know. I don't, but if you tell me the question again, I might change my mind.
In June of 2004, was Mr. Ring an employee of the Boyle law firm?
Don't know.
2004.
2014. Was he, in 2014, in June, was Mr. Ring a member of the O'Boyle law firm?
I do not know.
What is your relationship with Mr. Ring?
Mr. Ring is a former employee
Okay, when was he your employee?
previously.
For how long?
I don't know.
More than 10 years?
I think so.
More than 20 years?
No,
What companies has he worked for?
I don't know.
Do you know of any companies he's worked for?
Nope.
Is he a member of the Florida Bar?
Yes.
How long has he been a member of the Florida Bar?
I don't know.
Has he served on any not-for-profits at your request, such as Citizens Awareness Foundation?
I think he was an officer at one time, yes.
Did you appoint him to that position?
I don't think so.
Okay, and you're sure of that?
I just said I don't think so.
Didn't you have discussions with Mr. Joel Chandler as to who you were going to appoint to be the directors of the Citizens Awareness Foundation?
No, because I didn't make the appointments.
You didn't. Okay. And Ms. DiMartini became a director as well, didn't she?
I believe so.
And how long has Ms. DiMartini worked for you?
Well, first of all, they don't work for me. They work for companies. And Ms. DiMartini, off and on, 25 years or so.
And is she a paralegal?
She is.
Okay, and what, in the last 3 years, which of your companies or companies you're related with have paid her salaries?
Don't know.
Okay, has she worked for the O'Boyle Law Firm?
No.
Does she?
No, I say no. Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Does she ever attend O'Boyle Law Firm meetings?
I don't know.
Has she ever indicated to Mr. Chandler that she expects that he produce 100 cases a month by filing public records requests throughout the state so that attorney's fees can be forwarded to the O'Boyle Law Firm?
No.
Never said that?
No.
So there's no emails from Ms. DiMartini where she is administering the O'Boyle Law Firm?
Well, she may have, I haven't seen an email, but there could be an email confirming Mr. Chandler's memorandum where he said, I will produce 100 lawsuits a month.
And you're not aware that are you aware that Ms. DiMartini has worked for the O'Boyle Law Firm and made a demand of Mr. Chandler to provide 100 lawsuits to the O'Boyle Law Firm?
I think that's an untruth.
Okay. And Ms. DiMartini works for the Commerce Group?
Yes.
Okay, and she works for the Citizens Awareness Foundation?
Yes.
And she works for the O'Boyle Law Firm, correct?
No.
Can we slow it down just a little bit, so if there is an objection, we can actually get it out?
Okay. She does work for the O'Boyle Law Firm, doesn't she?
No.
She has conducted meetings of the O'Boyle Law Firm and gone over entire case lists of the O'Boyle Law Firm with lawyers in the O'Boyle Law Firm and Mr. Chandler, hasn't she?
Objective.
Same objection.
Not to my knowledge.
So you're not aware that Ms. DiMartini is actively involved in the administration of the O'Boyle Law Firm?
Object to the form of argument or even assume something.
I don't know how to even answer that question.
How about truthfully?
I
Are
will.
you aware that Ms. DiMartini, who has been with you for 25 years, is not only working for the Commerce Group and working for Citizens Awareness Foundation, but is also running or assisting in the administration of the O'Boyle Law Firm?
Objection to action answered.
Object to the form.
Is there a question somewhere?
Yes, are you aware that that's what's occurring?
No.
Okay. And didn't you and your son, Jonathan O'Boyle, meet with Joel Chandler in January of 2014 for the purpose of forming Citizens Awareness Foundation in order to front litigation to the O'Boyle Law Firm, which was going to be formed at the same time?
Object to
No.
the form.
And didn't you agree to pay Mr. Chandler $120,000 a year to go around the state and to file public records request lawsuits?
No.
Okay. And are you aware that Ms. DiMartini, in writing, has demanded that Mr. Chandler produce to the O'Boyle Law Firm 100 lawsuits a month?
Object to the
No.
Okay. And are you aware of the windfall profit scheme that is used by the O'Boyle Law Firm?
Objection.
Come on, Bob, you know
Okay.
better than
Are you aware that do you know who Mr. Chandler is?
Yeah, he's a crook.
Okay. Are you aware that he has contacted various victims of your and the O'Boyle Law Firm's practices and made these victims aware of what he alleges are fraudulent and criminal activities?
No, I am not aware of that, but I am aware that he committed bankruptcy fraud. That I am aware of.
Are you aware that that the Citizens Awareness Foundation has sued Mr. Chandler to try to get him to be quiet about the things that he's going around telling attorneys throughout the state that you're involved in?
Hold on.
Object to the form. Bob, you know you're making speeches, you're not asking questions. You've been doing this for 34 years, you're making speeches.
Well,
Are you aware he did this to silence the... Give me a break, Bob. Why don't you ask some questions that are actually going to generate an answer so we can all go home at some point tonight?
Let me show you what I'm going to mark as the next exhibit, Mr. O'Boyle. It's a lawsuit that was filed by the alleged Citizens Awareness Foundation. Do you know what the Citizens Awareness Foundation is?
It's a company.
Yeah, you caused it to be formed, didn't you?
I don't know that I caused it to be formed. I don't think so.
Well,
but
Mr. Ring did at your direction, right?
I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that.
Okay. And you discussed with Mr. Chandler that the Citizens Awareness Foundation was going to be a entity that was going to go around the state and make public records requests and generate lawsuits, right?
No.
No.
Wrong.
And did you offer to pay Mr. Chandler $120,000 a year to go around the state and file lawsuits?
Nope.
Or prepare lawsuits?
No.
Okay. And did you, was Mr. Chandler hired by Citizens Awareness Foundation the same day that it was formed?
I have no idea.
Okay. And you agreed to pay Mr. Strike that. Did you ever fund any money to Citizens Awareness Foundation, Inc.?
I'm not sure I'm understanding.
Did you or your entities ever put money into a Citizens Awareness Foundation, Inc. bank account?
Okay. I don't know how the bank accounts are set up, but the company obviously had to be funded. If it had to be funded, I or one of my entities would have funded it. We wouldn't have gotten pennies from heaven.
Okay. So the entity was funded by you or one of your entities, right?
I think so.
Okay. And it's in the same, did Mr. Chandler have his offices in the same place as the O'Boyle Law Firm?
No.
Okay. He didn't meet in the same building, in the same space with the O'Boyle Law Firm?
No.
Okay. And did the Citizens Awareness Foundation, Inc. agree to pay Mr. Chandler $120,000 a year?
You've already asked me that.
And where did it get that money? All from you, correct?
No, you've already asked me that too.
Did all $120,000 that was committed for his salary come from you or your companies?
To the best of my knowledge, it did, but I can't say for sure.
Okay. And has the Citizens Awareness Foundation filed lawsuits throughout the state of Florida for public records violations?
I mean, I'm assuming yes, but I have no personal knowledge.
Okay. Well, you called Mr. Chandler after he quit, after he resigned, and asked him to deliver the balance of the cases to the O'Boyle Law Firm and sent him an email to that effect, didn't you?
Well, I think what I sent him an email and called him was for him to give us back the property he stole.
What property did he steal?
Well, during the period of time he had a contract, and it said that any, I'm going to call them deals, any deals between point A and point B were ours. And as we decided to do a little bit of search, we started finding out in various parts of the state where he was, during all that time, he wasn't giving us the deals, he was giving him the deals. We also came to
Who's us that
learn...
he wasn't giving the deals to?
Pardon?
You mean the lawsuits?
Yeah, he wasn't giving, in other words, where he'd file a lawsuit, he would keep it on his own, and then what he would do, he would have no lawyer, he would file a lawsuit, and then he would go to Dan D'Souza or some corporation and say, look, I just filed a lawsuit against you. If you give me $1,500, we can settle it fast and cheap. And that's what they would do. He also was filing as an indigent. He wasn't paying his filing fees. Don't know if you're aware of that.
So he had an agreement to refer all violations of open government laws encountered in the course of his duties to legal counsel approved by Citizens Awareness Foundation, right?
Can you read that again?
Didn't Mr. Chandler have an agreement with you to refer violations of open government laws encountered in the course of his duties to legal counsel approved by the foundation?
Objection, is that with you or with the Citizens Awareness?
Citizens Awareness Group and Mr. Chandler had that agreement, right?
I have nothing to do with Citizens Awareness.
You have nothing to do with Citizens
Nothing.
Awareness. You're funding it, right? You're the only one funding it.
I'm allowed to make loans.
Oh, so you've loaned money to them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm allowed to make loans.
Okay, you have promissory notes to Citizens Awareness Foundation?
I'm allowed to make loans.
Have you made loans to Citizens Awareness Foundation?
To my knowledge, either I have or entities that I control have. Now, that's the fourth time you've asked me. If you'd like, I can write it down, and I could hold it up each time.
Are there any promissory notes with these loans?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, which entities made the loans?
I have no... I
How
don't-
much has been loaned?
Hold on. Let him finish an answer before you jump to the next one.
I
can't
don't-
even make my objections like this. You guys are both just...
How much has been loaned, Mr. O'Boyle?
I don't know.
And before the entity was formed, you gave Mr. Chandler money so he could travel around the state and go set up public records lawsuits, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. And he had use of your personal credit card, correct?
He told me he needed a credit card, which in today's world, you need a credit card to get a hotel, a car, and so forth. And we ordered an extra credit card, and they put that extra credit card, I think, in my name, but I'm not, whether it was my name or not, it was my credit card.
But you negotiated with Mr. Chandler the terms of his employment with Citizens Awareness Foundation, Inc., right?
No.
And there are emails where you go over all those details with him, correct?
Oh, let's see him.
Okay. Aren't there emails where you and Mr. Chandler and your son and Mr. Whitmer discussed not only forming the O'Boyle Law Firm for purposes of fronting public records requests to the law firm, but also all the terms of his employment? Strike that, I'll break it down. Didn't you exchange emails with Mr. Chandler where you negotiated the terms of his employment?
I don't think so.
And didn't you require from Mr. Chandler that all of the lawsuits that he was able to generate for Citizens Awareness Foundation would be fronted to your son's law firm?
I don't think so.
Are you aware whether or not there are emails between Mr. Chandler where he's attempted to have Mr. Ring allow lawsuits to be filed to others by other law firms, and it was instructed by Ms. DiMartini and Mr. Ring that all law firms that were filed by the quote, Citizens Awareness Foundation had to be filed by the O'Boyle Law Firm?
Objection form.
I don't understand your question.
Were you aware?
You can just reformulate it, and then I'd like to take a quick bathroom break.
Let's take a bathroom break.
Can you
Go ahead.
reformulate the question? if you
Go
want?
ahead, take a bathroom break.
The time is 2:24 and we're going to the record.
I just didn't want there to be a pending question if he wants.